Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Show here on Bowlers Network. I want to thank a brand new sponsor. We are making waves. We have Farmers Union Insurance that believes in our vision and our mission to make the entire bowling community even stronger than it is. So we thank you very much. Let's bring in Jay and Zach, my two partners. And let's get rolling on this Friday. Hi, guys. Hey, Zach, thanks so much for putting on that sweatshirt when you sat down today. I'm going to tell everybody out there, you look like you had no shirt on. Just saying. The color of that awesome T-shirt.
I'm pale, but like there's a little difference of the pink.
No, it's kind of cool. Hey, we're going to get right into it. Before we even start on our topics, you know me, I always throw you guys a little something that we don't discuss. Announcement. We got Mike Jakubowski and Chris Barnes calling the first match at the first event on the PBA Tour, right? I believe that's what they said was the first match. Zach, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, that is news to me. I didn't see that anywhere. But no, that's awesome. A lot of people were pushing when they saw that Kyle was going to get the color commentary spot saying, man, I would like to see Chris in the booth. Well, now we have that. Chris has done a phenomenal job, of course, for years and years. He's done the commentary on and off throughout the years. He also runs an awesome podcast with Stu Williams, where those guys are super electric and incredible on that. So he is bringing in some fans from many, many different areas of bowling of all different age levels. So it's really cool to see Chris on there. And it's a good little nod, of course, because he is looking at the PBA Tour. I think now he's one of the oldest guys who's going to be full-time on tour, but he also is one of the most decorated guys on tour. Of course, Hall of Famer in basically every Hall of Fame under the sun in the bowling world. So it's going to be really cool to see him in the booth for a match.
And we're gonna talk about that a little bit when we get into the team play because in talking with him over the last few months, I didn't know if he was really going to bowl every tournament, but of course with this industry team bowling, he may participate. Of course, he is dominant on the senior tour. They have not yet released their schedule, so I'm sure if there is a conflict, I would think he would probably choose the PBA 50. I'm not really sure. I shouldn't speak for him. But in talking with him, he is dominant on that tour. Jay, what are your thoughts on having him in the booth? I think it's a positive.
Boy, yeah, I have to say, I had no idea about this, so this is the first I'm hearing of it. I like Chris. I think Chris does a great job. I think his knowledge of the game from a fan's perspective really, really well, he's known as the technician, right? I think, his ability to kind of explain things in a way that takes what some may not understand, how complicated things can be in the sport and make it kind of easier to understand. I think that's kind of a good move. It's surprising, but I think it's a good move. And, I got to put a shameless plug. He's part of Bowlers Network. It has to help too, right?
That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but no, that's all I can.
Hold that thought because I'm going to come to you first on this one. Let's start talking about the teams because we're going to come back to that word technician. Okay. The 900 global team is going to be led by Andrew Anderson, Chris Barnes, Ryan Barnes, Brandon Bonta, Mitch Hoope, Thomas Larson, Chase Nadeau, Brian Robinson, Chris Sloan, and Timmy Tan. Okay. First thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to throw it to you, Jay, is when we had Chris Barnes on the Kingpins team, the reason Chris was chosen, besides the fact that he's still a great bowler, was his knowledge of the game and his way of helping the others rise to the occasion. So we use him twofold. Lane Reed and his smarts as the technician, he can still bowl, so there's three reasons. Yet he really did help the younger kids on the team make them feel as if A, they belonged, and B, they could do it. So it goes back to that technician where I think it's a twofold of having him on the team along with his son. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, actually, I came prepared today to talk more about the teams and going to my notes on, 900 team. The one word that I guess I came up with to kind of describe the global 900 team, I used dark horse for Brunswick. I come up with the word refined, right? And that
Okay.
is the word that I'm describing the global 900 team. You know,
Okay.
they like motive, right? They only have the one lefty,
Right.
but they're refined. And I think when you look at the character breakdown of the people, you know, Ryan's like his dad, right? Quiet, a little more, internal. You got Andrew, kind of a quiet, really likable guy. Mitch Hoope, the same thing. I love Mitch. He was just down here. I just got to bowl with him last weekend in a tournament. So I think the character makeup of the people, again, to me, the word refined stood out.
Okay. I love that word. Zach, I want your take on this because I know you pointed out a few things in the fact of this team has a cumulative average finish. I loved how you did that, and thank you for doing that. This team has a cumulative average finish of 44th with only 2 players in the top 20. One thing I also noticed is you have a few non-titleists, right?
Yes.
And you've spoken about that before. So what is your take on this team? Jay says refined. What are you saying?
Yeah, so overall, I did my homework as well for this one. I went through all of the teams to check what their point totals were for 2025. 900 Global was in last place. They were, like Carolyn said, 44.125 was their average point total. Only 2 people in the top 20, which is the lowest out of all 6 of the teams. So
Correct.
this is by far and away the underdog. This is, statistically speaking, the true underdog. Now, of course, you have Chris Barnes, you have Andrew, you have Ryan, who's been crushing everything. But after that, it is a lot of inexperience. You have a couple non-titleists in there. You have a couple of rookies, or at least one rookie. You have a lot of guys just without that tournament and that PBA experience. And like you said, Chris is fantastic at reading ball motion. That's one thing I'm always impressed with just listening to him. I've learned so much just listening to his podcast on how to read ball motion. And that's something that while you're younger, you just don't know. You know what you've seen. But everybody now is grown up in the age of urethane where you don't have to read ball motion like Chris did 15, 20, 25 years ago. It's a very different thing. So he can bring back some of those old tricks and tools, hopefully to be able to help a lot of these younger guys. So I think this team is really high risk, high reward is how I saw it.
Right.
Where this might be a dominant team. I mean, you can have Ryan and Andrew who did well last year. You could have some of these younger guys and newer guys do really well. Or it might be the bottom team, just statistically speaking. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what they do.
Well, the other part of that too is, and I always go back to this because they've had such a strong program for so long. Proof is in the pudding. Got some Wichita Staters here. Their training, both on and off the lanes, basically has led to success. Let's face it, the ones that are non-titleists have been on Team USA, have bowled very well in regional events, have gotten their feet wet in some of the national events. So I tend to agree with yes, statistics show you that this team may not be in the top 3. But I got to tell you, there's a lot of young energy on this team that I think could lift it up. And with the backing of a Chris Barnes, I think we may see some interesting things out of this team. This one could be the one that says, "Wow, did they pull it together?" You know,
is this your
that
dark
type
horse,
of
Carolyn?
So I don't know yet. I'm going to pick that for next week. I'm going to go back and really check everything, but it could be one of the leaders, that's for sure. Now we turn around, we go to motive, right? Led by one of the best bowlers ever, current reigning player of the year, EJ Tackett, Sam Cooley, Ethan Fury, AJ Johnson, Sean Lavery-Spar, Bailey Maverick, Nick Pate, Matt Russo, Tom Smallwood, and Santu. I'm not even going to try to say his last name. Santu T is what I always call him when I see him. Now, with that being said, this team as well, not many titleists, young team. So now we're seeing that surge of kind of the crossing of the guards. We talked about EJ Tackett, I believe 33 is the number on him. No, is he 30? Yeah, 33. That is not old by all means, but compared to some of the people on his team, he's older than them, right? So again, it could be a little bit of the changing of the guards. What do we take away with this team as compared to, let's say, even just 900 global, but of course the whole community of the elite league? Zach?
Yeah, so last year, Motive was hard carried by EJ Tackett. The way that the league worked is that it depended on how you finished in certain weeks, and there was a huge favor if you were the first place person. Well, EJ won a lot last year, so I think it was half of the points that Motive got throughout the season were from EJ, which was crazy. So I think it kind of depends on how EJ's season goes, which is a lot to put on one guy's back. But he is the leader. He is the captain. He has been the best bowler in the world for a while now. So if he can have a great season again, which everything's pointing to that, there weren't any big rule changes. The patterns are pretty in his favor to a certain degree. I can see a lot of great things. And now the other guys on the team, really young, but you had some powerhouses. Ethan is going to be one that's going to be interesting. He won in the offseason overseas. He's been looking really good. I've seen him pop honor score after honor score the last couple of months. Santu, when he gets lined up, he just can't miss. One of the most casual two-handers you'll ever see. So there's a lot of power on this team. A lot of young guns, a lot of power who are getting more experience every year.
A lot of power, two-handers. Now, compared to other teams, there are a lot of people on this team that do like to probably shift a little left more than try to play the lane straighter. I think that will come into play as what the patterns seem like when they start. So, you know, if they're flatter patterns, you probably want straighter angles to start until they open up. Normal bowling knowledge, right? But good stat. They were 20th in average finish. They have 3 in the top 20, but yet not many titles. So again, we're talking about that. How much will experience play into these teams being successful? Jay?
Well, again, I like to come up with a single word that I kind of describe each team with, right? This team I describe as fearless, right? And I think that with EJ's fiery personality, you look at AJ, who has a similar fiery personality, and then you go back to, you know, yeah, he's young, but you look at Ethan and that match he had against EJ, right? And he didn't buckle, right? What was it, 7 consecutive, 10-frame roll-offs or whatever it was? The kid just didn't buckle. And so, again, you look at that, and to me, I describe that team as fearless. Now, the one thing that stands out in my mind on this team, like you said, Carolyn, right? I call it top heavy. This is a very top heavy team. You either have people who have a lot of wins or maybe haven't broke through yet, right? So they're not as blended or as balanced as maybe the others. And I think the one thing that holds that team together is the one with the most tempered personality, and that's Smalls, right? Tom Small, you just can't fluster that guy. He just... First of all, I just think the world of him, but he might be the one that just holds everything together. So that one is top heavy, and they're going to live or die by that. And I go back to global. Yep, they're maybe a little more blended, a little more middle heavy. So
I definitely think the 900 global, even though the stats are what they are, I look at the bowlers. I think there's more bowlers on this team that actually could play the lanes very similar, okay, which again may play to the favor. Forgive me for asking this question. Where are they holding the finals for this event? Is it in Maine?
I don't even know.
I don't know.
I don't know if they've announced it yet.
I don't think so.
So let's just your take on this. Depending on where they hold the finals could dictate as well who bowls well or not. I mean, when we bowled in Maine, right, when they had the competition there, you knew the left lane was breaking down massive no matter what, right? So you knew how you were going to play the right lane. You knew what you needed to do on the left lane, which pulled in different players at different times and pulled players into different positions on the team. So I think that's going to be a big factor also, where they decide they're going to host this event. Of course, it's cumulative, so it'll be very interesting to see. So this leads me into the next question. Lots going on with the PBA. They're trying to change things up a little bit. Let's talk about positive, negative on the fact of we are one of the most accessible sports out there. In other words, you can go to a PBA event, watch practice session, PWBA event, watch practice session, and walk right up to a bowler in the middle of practice session and ask them for an autograph, right? We tell you probably not to do that, wait till after practice. But pro-ams, clinics, charity events, how do we change the perception of what pro-ams actually are to bring more people in? Many years ago, you had 3,000 people at a pro-am, or 1,000. I mean, I can name the bowling centers, Long Island, Carolier Lanes. Thousands came to bowl the pro-ams. How do we get people to grab a hold of this greatness of the accessibility of these bowlers? Jay?
Well, I got to give credit to my partner, Marshall Kent. And I'm going to take probably a little more time than I should on that question because it has a very, very dear spot to me. So 3.5 years ago, Marshall and I were having a drink, and he came up with this idea, and he said, you know what? Golf does it right. They get it. Mm-hmm. And so we started this thing, and we thought we'd try it. And our tournaments, we started with the Pro-Am, and the Pro-Am just went off the charts. And what we did is we patterned it off of golf, right? So what we did is we sold it as like a team thing, not an individual thing. So kind of like a scramble in golf. And we had kids that needed bumpers. Right. And so what we did is we allowed people to buy the pro that they wanted on their team. They bid on it, like a Calcutta. When we got the teams assembled, the lights went out, music goes up. It's kind of like cosmic bowling or whatever you want to call it. And all the money that we raised from selling the pros went to a local veterans charity. Right. And it was awesome. People absolutely loved it. And as we did more of these, people would come from, a long ways away because they got to bowl with their heroes. And we switched lanes. It was Baker style doubles or Baker style teams rather. And people absolutely loved it. And so that's what we did.
I love that concept, and I've had the pleasure of competing in that, and it was fantastic. And I am more about the team-oriented. I think people like to bowl with their friends. They like to have fun, yet have one of their superstars with them, okay?
Yeah, that's right. You were on you did ours.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also think that if you do want that one-on-one or really the close-up moment, that's when you have people maybe bid on a VIP package. Where prior to the event, you get that one-on-one experience with Marshall Kent or Pete Weber or whoever it be. And it doesn't have to be long. You're not talking 9 hours. Texas Rangers do it great as well. They have events where you can purchase the VIP, come in, meet them, mingle with them for an hour, and then boom, right into their event. Zach, what is your take on, does this type of format attract a different audience than we already have?
Yeah, I think it does. What my answer was going to be before Jay gave his awesome example was to gamify it, because I feel like right now the positive of going to a pro-am is to bowl with a pro, but there needs to be a little bit more involved in that. You need sometimes having a game involved, having like a top 10, whatever it may be. So I love the team idea, just some way to bring in people who care about bowling with a pro, but it isn't their dream come true. They don't want to spend $100 just for that opportunity. So give them a
Good point.
reason to come. Give them that reason, a prize fund. Say, yeah, you can vote, you can bet on whatever pro you want, so you can get your specific pro. Now that's going to be tougher because, of course, everybody's going to want a Belmo and EJ, and then a lot of the newer guys might not get as big of bids. But this could be a good way to bring people in because you can win something out of it. Maybe there's
Right.
balls that you win. Your team wins, I don't know, Storm sponsors tournament pro-am #1, and everybody on the winning team gets a brand new concept or bionic that just got announced, something like that.
Right.
Any way just to bring in, so the only goal isn't just show up and be able to bowl with a pro.
Well, one of
actually, if
my
you
ideas,
remember,
and listen,
it-
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, let me lead into you, Jay.
Yep, yep.
Just in participating in some different type of pro-ams, I love the fact of making sure that we put the newer players, the younger players, the rookies in there. I was a big proponent on that. We would bowl pro-ams years ago. It was always the titleists that had a bowl, right? Here was my main thought. I understand that it's my job to bowl. I didn't complain about bowling. What I did say was, how are we supposed to get people to know these other people if they don't bowl with them? So we started where they would walk through and greet and meet. What I like as a concept is maybe with rookies, there's 2 on a team, 2 rookies you purchase, where there maybe not as many title holders, but we have a Dio and a Brandon Bonta on a team in this pro-am. And let's get them together to have a good time, kind of socialize, make it a team, tag team effort. And again, get their name out while they're bowling against the EJ Tackett. What's your thoughts on that, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't agree more. I guess is what I'm saying. We literally are talking what we do what you're talking, and I love that. So we have the pros out there. It could be rookies, it could be many title holders, Hall of Famers, and you're right. People will command a higher bid. That's just the way it goes. But they're all on the lanes at the same time. Right. So you will interact with them. And the other thing that we did, and I would encourage people to consider doing, because it really works, do things outside of bowling. Right. So before the pro-am and before all actually on the same day, before we started the pro-am in the evening, we had a golf outing. Right. So we took all the people that wanted to golf and then paired them up with a pro, and we went golfing with them as well. So that really worked.
I'm going to tell you one thing as we have to wrap up here today. When I bowled, and I'm just going to say, in my other lifetime, I was on Ebonite staff for 14 years. I mean, it's just part of who I am. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad. I'm a rotogrip gal now. But we held pregame parties under the tent out in the parking lot. So we started where you'd autograph sign, they'd have hamburgers, hot dogs, and your donation was either that money collected was agreed upon prior, a charity, the youth program, whatever it be. Started out slow, but by the end, lots of people were coming out to kind of just get to know everybody because your entire staff was there. So again, you had your newbies and your veterans kind of sharing the spotlight to kind of get the word out there of who we were, what we were trying to prove, and be a part of the PWBA. So I think we have a lot of great ideas out there. As we wrap up, we have so much more to talk about. At the end of next week, we'll talk a little bit more about the teams just as the PBA is gearing up for Euless, Texas. Monday, we're going to talk a little bit about college bowling, recruiting. We're going to move on into Bowlers Network. What are we truly all about? Again, we would love to thank Farmers Union Insurance for taking a chance on us and making a great partnership to just make the bowling community that much stronger. See everybody here on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. Jay and Zach, thank you as always. Always have something to chat about. Have a great weekend.